Hi, this is Cole Hamels. Welcome to the Philly Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Phillies Show. Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury. I'm Todd Zolecki. Ruben, we're in a duet situation.
Yeah, we're missing a big link.
Jimmy is on assignment, so he's unable to join us today.
We're missing our big toe.
We are missing our big toe. Jim, we miss you. Come back. No, seriously, Jim will be back later this week. He could not make it before the Phillies open the series Monday night in Detroit. But we got a lot to talk about, Ruben. I mean, kind of a really big news weekend for the Phillies. Starts with the Cristopher Sánchez $22.5 million 4-year extension. This extension to me, Ruben, explains just how impossibly difficult it is, I think, to build a franchise and an organization, because you think about December of 2019, the Tampa Bay Rays had to place him on the 40-man roster. And they're like, we have some guys that are better than him. So they trade him to the Phillies for Curtis Mead. He's a hard-throwing lefty. And then he kind of like hits some bumps in the road. The velocity drops. He's not throwing strikes. Curtis Mead then becomes this top 100 prospect. This trade looks like a total bust. And then last spring, the Phillies are looking for a number 5 starter. And spring of 2023. And it's like Bailey Falter versus Andrew Painter and Sanchez. But we know he's not going to make the team. And now he's got a $22.5 million contract. I mean, it's just shows you how like unpredictable and everything is in player development is, right? I mean, what do you think about just how that whole storyline?
It really is one of the things we talk about, the beauty of baseball all the time, right? And everybody wants to assess trades and decisions, and then you want to look at things like in a vacuum. Guess what? You have to kind of wait things out and see how things play out, because baseball is like no other sport. You just don't know whether, even the greatest prospects in the world can fizzle out when they get to the major leagues, or they can have like 1 or 2 great years and then they can be the rookie of the year and then become nothing. And it's really is an amazing sport in that regard. And this is one of those situations where, hey, we're taking a chance, and Matt Klentak and his people take a chance on a big armed left-hander, right? And I just in general, when you start thinking about left-handed pitchers, especially really tall and lanky, and leverage guys with a lot of levers and leverage. I've talked to scouts over the years. You just don't know when those guys are going to be able to put their bodies in a position to have success. In other words, can they ever get consistent enough with their deliveries? Can they ever put all the pieces and the parts together on a frame like that to get to the point where they can be effective major league players or consistent major league players? And this is a guy that, to his credit, got to that space. It took him a little bit of time to get there, because I will tell you, I've seen a lot of baseball in my day, and this is one of the most amazing transformations of a pitcher I've ever seen. And I'm not overstating this.
No.
By the time you're 25 or 26 years old, you probably have a pretty good idea what this guy's going to be, what a player is going to be, whether he's gotten to the big leagues or, it's fairly close, or he's had a little taste or what have you. And when he first got to the big leagues, I looked at this guy and go, wow, he's just a thrower. He has no idea where his fastball is going. He's throwing 95 or 96 miles an hour. At times he'll hit 97, and you're going, this guy just does it. For number one, he doesn't know where his fastball is going, and number two, he doesn't have a breaking pitch. He doesn't have an off pitch. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, this was just sort of a throwaway deal, because he just doesn't. He's not going to be able to make the adjustments to be mechanically sound enough to be able to pitch. Well, it was obvious, and Matt Gelb had a great story about it, and talked a little bit about his development. But it sort of takes a village. I think Cesar Ramos had a little bit to do with it when he was a coach in AAA. I think Caleb Cotham obviously has to get some love for it, but really, it's the onus is on the pitcher. The pitcher himself, Christopher, he just decided, you know what? I'm not going back down again. I'm going to do what I need to do and make the adjustments, me personally, to be a viable major league pitcher. And boy, did he pitch well at the end of the year last year and basically he changed his whole program. He became a pitcher. He started throwing strikes more consistently and actually, beat out Bailey Falter and knocked him off the grid. And he ended up being a pretty viable, starter for them. Still didn't know what he was going to be when he rolled into spring training, but what that transformation of having one of the best pitches in baseball now, the changeup with the great arm action and great action and great success with it, and then not only that, but he also started developing like a slider. All of a sudden, he had like a breaking pitch. Oh my goodness!
Right. It's funny. I went back the past couple of days and I read a lot of the stories that were written when the Phillies got him in that trade, and even the Phillies were saying like, he's a hard throwing lefty. We like that. He's tall. We like that. He's got a decent slider and a decent changeup, and it's just funny to think about now because that changeup has become, like you said, one of the best pitches in baseball. I mean, that game late last season against the Braves where he had, got like a ton of swings and misses and threw just a ton of changeups. But back when they got him in December 2019, they're like, yeah, he throws hard. Maybe he'll get something else going on.
Yeah. So what?
And now he finally got it.
So it's interesting. So over the weekend, Cole Hamels gets retired. I think it retires as a Philly. Mm-hmm. And you start thinking about left-handers and you start thinking about tall left-handers, okay, and why they become like so important if they really get it, if they actually get it, because they can create. I was watching some of the film and I had forgotten, Cole Hamels with his delivery, he had so much unbelievable leverage. He worked down the slope as we talked about, and as scouts talk about. And for a hitter, when you're looking at a pitch that's down angle like that, I mean, it's difficult. It's very difficult to hit. But when you have that kind of down angle and you can master your ability to throw a couple of different pitches with that angle and throw strikes with it, you can have a lot of success. And that's kind of what's happening. Christopher Sánchez is a tall dude. He's got some serious leverage. And so now he's gotten to the point where, okay, now I'm throwing 94, 95, 96 because now I'm confident with my stuff and my ability to repeat my fastball and to throw it where I want to. And I know that these guys are not going to be able to handle my changeup. And so it's a great story. It's a great signing. He doesn't even, I overstate this. He doesn't have to even have a great career, but the importance of starting pitching is so high right now that, hey, man, why not lock up a guy and let him feel confident about himself? Typically, you don't want to sign a guy when he's pitching at the top of his game, but because you want to kind of wait for the guy to, maybe you get a little discount because the guy's not throwing all that well. But in this case, I think they got a very reasonable contract for a guy who I believe that will continue to get better and better and better. And he's one of the better pitchers in all of baseball right now. It's incredible.
That's the thing. Yeah, he's kind of flying under the radar when you talk about Wheeler and Nola and Suárez, certainly. And he's right up there when you look at some of those numbers, ERA and just, overall production. He's been fantastic. Yeah, it's $22.5 million 4-year deal. Couple options down the road, but yeah, $16 million in 2029 can escalate if he, up to 29 or 19 million in 2030, based on some incentives and things like that. But seems like, they're locking up that pitching. So my question now, Ruben, is they locked up Cristopher Sánchez. The other guy's out there now, Ranger Suárez.
He sure is.
And he will not be signing an extension for $22.5 million if he signs one.
Oh no.
So Ranger he's got this year. He's got next year, his last year of arbitration, and then he's a free agent after 2025. And this might be a dumb question, Ruben, because I know you put starting pitching above everything else, but can you lock up too many starting pitchers? Can you put that much money into your rotation? Again, I say maybe that's a dumb question, but how do you, if you're in Dave Dombrowski's shoes, how do you look at it? It's like, no, we just have to do this and we're just going to have 4 guys locked up. What do you do?
I think you can lock them all up.
Okay.
I mean, I mean, and for me, and again, you're preaching a little bit to the choir in that I believe in starting pitching. And if you have good quality starting pitching, boy, oh boy, you need to hold on to it. Now, there's no question, and not everybody's going to hit. You're not going to make the right decision on every single one of these guys. Somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going down. There's going to be a UCL tear or an elbow or a brace or whatever the case may be. It's going to happen, but you sort of have to pay to play. Starting pitching is so important. You start thinking about some of the guys that are out there and what they can command as far as starting. I think teams are starting to understand that you cannot let your bullpen eat up 50% or 60% of the innings that are required to work your way through a major league season. And
Right.
so I think pitchers who can pitch, who have durability and have some length, which all of these guys do. When I say all of these guys, I'm talking about Wheeler, Nola, Suárez, and Sánchez. I mean, you got to kind of lock them up because they're just too important, because I still believe this in my heart of hearts, and I'll never stop believing it. If I have a solid starting pitcher who can give me 6 to 7 innings every single night, I know that I have a chance to win every single night.
Totally.
And so I got to live through the Atlanta Braves 90s. I had to play against them in the Atlanta Braves 90s. And yes, it was a magical, amazing thing. You had Hall of Famers left and right. But there's a reason why they won the division for 14 straight years. It's because they had these unbelievable starting pitchers who can give you length, they can give you consistency, and they can keep you in every single baseball game.
It's going to be a big contract if they can get him to an extension.
Oh,
right? I mean,
yeah. Suarez's numbers. I mean, we're talking about apples and oranges just because of what, one, the pedigree, two, the fact that, major league service time wise, it's totally different.
Sure.
Because he's closer to free agency than Sanchez is. But he's also done it in the biggest stage in 2 different ways, as a closer and a starter. And he has some of the most amazing numbers in postseason play, which is really where, the rubber meets the road. He's done it in the most important times of the season. And Ranger Suárez, barring something catastrophic, this young man is going to be paid. And John Middleton and Dave Dombrowski are intelligent men, and they are not going to let that guy slip away because they know he's just too important.
So is there pressure on a GM front office to tackle this off season? I guess, right? I mean, you don't want him to get to free agency, but the Phillies let Nola get to free agency and they locked him up. I mean, maybe this is a different situation, but is there pressure going into the offseason, like we got to get Ranger locked up, or can you not think that way? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So there's so many different factors about this. So it's one, the relationship. I think for me, it's the relationship of the organization with the agent, Dave Dombrowski, and Sam with the, with the agent. There is the willingness of the player to want to stay at home in Philadelphia, not necessarily giving a hometown discount, but just not wanting to necessarily want to wait to free agency. Right. There is the confidence of the player and him saying, well, I'm going to get better and better and better, so I'm going to wait. And I'm going to I'm going to wait for every, the 30 plus teams that are going to be making a run at me. There's a lot of different things that are associated with doing a deal like that. And so I don't know all the inner workings of all those pieces, but they're
Mhm.
all factors. There's no question about it. And, his overall health as he continues to work through this season. Listen, if the guy ends up being like number 1, number 2, or number 3 in the Cy Young voting, yeah, you're going to have to pay the man. And I didn't ever have a problem paying guys who performed. If he performed and you believe that he's going to continue to do so, then go ahead. You got to do it.
Yeah, it's you think about what right now you're thinking top 3 Cy Young Award winner, finisher for sure. I mean, right now I guess you could say he's the favorite, so that price definitely goes up. It is just kind of crazy going back though to think you have Wheeler locked up to this massive extension. You just signed Nola to a massive extension. You got Sanchez locked up, $22.5 million with some options down the road. And then if you sign Suarez, that's a pretty heck of a good rotation with whoever the number 5 starter ends up being. Right now, you have Taiwan Walker signed through 2 more seasons. You have Spencer Turnbull signed through this season. You have Andrew Painter probably coming back next season. And, I don't know what his status will be, how he'll be throwing or whatever, but you have those guys. You have somebody like Andrew Painter possibly down the road. Number 5 starter right now, Ruben, of course, is a hot button topic because Taiwan Walker got hit hard on Friday night. I was at the game, brought my family, and he was getting crushed with boos with the home runs he allowed. Doesn't throw any splitters. He gets put on the injured list because he's got a finger issue, a blister, and something else going on. Now Spencer Turnbull's back in there. It's kind of a weird situation, isn't it, with Walker, because he keeps saying he's healthy. I just don't have the feel for my splitter. So I thought it was interesting when Rob Thompson said, he's not coming back until he can throw a splitter. So I understand why.
Well, and it sounds like that there's something mechanically wrong with him, physically wrong with him, in that he is not able to grip his splitter the way he needs to have it be effective. And whether it's the middle of the finger or whatever the case may be, that's real. I mean, that's something that if the guy can't grip the baseball properly and he can't throw his best pitch, then he becomes an ineffective pitcher, and which he has been over like the last, few outings. And the fact that he hasn't even really been able to pitch to make, to utilize that pitch pretty much all year long.
Right.
I mean, this is a guy who used it, 36, 37, 40% of the time over his last year or two. And now all of a sudden he can't throw the pitch. He's not throwing the pitch. There's something wrong with that. And so if you're not trusting the pitch and you can't throw it and you physically can't throw it, then there's a reason why he's put on the IL. And so will he be able to bounce back from that? Perhaps. Who knows, whether it's a tendon issue, a blister issue, whatever the case may be. But they do have a viable, option in going with Spencer Turnbull, who pitched extremely well. And, if you're not performing and then you're not physically able to perform, then there's every reason why to go ahead and put him on the IL and allow Spencer Turnbull to go ahead and take his starts.
Okay, so let me put you in this manager's shoes. Spencer Turnbull comes out, and for the next 2 or 3 starts, pitches really well. Maybe not as good as he pitched his first 6 starts, where he had like a 1.67 ERA, but he pitches pretty well. Now Taiwan Walker says his finger feels better, and he's starting to throw a splitter. What do you do?
It's a beautiful problem.
That's a tough one.
It's a really tough one. And it's a tough one for Dabrowski. It's a tough one for John Middleton. It's a tough one for Sam Fold and for Thompson. But I'd love to have that problem.
Okay.
I mean, as a general manager, you're hoping that's the problem, because you can still slide Turnbull back if he, go ahead and let Taiwan Walker throw a, either simulated games or throw as in rehab and see if he's effective enough. And how effective that splitter is. I mean, there's scouts there, there's people there, there's all types of ways to measure that pitch and to see if that is working for him and it's effective. And you give him another chance. Now, that said, at some point, if he comes back and he's not effective, then I got to believe that the Phillies will make a change and they'll let Spencer Turnbull, especially if Spencer Turnbull is throwing well in that spot, or when he gets those, however many chances he gets over the next, several weeks, whether it's 3 starts, whether it's 4 starts, however many starts it is, if he pitches effectively, then I think, and then they give Taiwan Walker another shot at it. I think the leash becomes shorter and shorter. And we talked about that leash. I think it becomes shorter and shorter because they're in it to win it. They're not in it to lose it. The one thing that does become a bit of a factor is you just do not know if Taiwan Walker can pitch out of the pen. You know that Spencer Turnbull has done it, not a lot, but has done it and can do it. And so that is also one of those pieces of the pie that or pieces of the decision that you have to make.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I guess you're right, Ruben, too. They could, based off how he's throwing it, that goes in a rehab assignment. The splitter's not there. It's an easier decision. It's easier call to make. Maybe I remember you saying when they first put Walker back in the rotation, you said maybe 4 or 5 starts. He's gotten a little bit more than that to prove himself. I feel like it's an easier argument to make if you have to pull him now at the rotation. You can say, listen, we gave you opportunities. And like you said, we're trying to win a World Series. And, you got 2 years left in the deal. It doesn't mean you're not going to start again. You can always, he might not like that, but I think it may be an easier conversation to have if it gets to that point.
Well, it might be easier because if he's not performing, he's not performing.
Right.
And listen, this is a performance-based life and industry. And especially for a team that has one goal in mind, is that to put the best 26 players out on the field to win a World Series. And so, you got to live with it. He's still going to get paid. I don't know what they do with him, but he's going to get paid. And whether you throw him in as a long guy and make him be, if somebody breaks down, he's got to come in and eat up some innings for, a throwaway game, then, hey, my advice to that young man is, hey, pitch better, pitch better and get your job back. And so, but that's the difficulty and the beauty of baseball and major sports, right?
Yeah, no doubt. So I want to go back, Ruben. I have to make a correction on myself. Sanchez's option for 2029 is $14 million, $15 million option for 2023. It escalates, $1 million or $2 million if he ends up, being a top finisher for the Cy Young Award. So I just wanted to.
I mean, those are phenomenal. Those are phenomenal. I mean, and I think they're club options, if I'm not mistaken. If they are club options, that's pretty amazing because they basically they've guaranteed him some money. There's no question about it, but they also give themselves some protection that if this guy really pitches well, or even as a number 3 or 4, $14 million. Oh my goodness. It's like a steal.
That'll be a steal in 2029. If he's pitching like this, $14 million in 2029 for a guy that is, if he's pitching like this, and the buyout too it's only a $1 million buyout too. So it's really very, very club friendly, but for him, he's got a lot of security. He's got financial security. So
no question about it.
He is set. He's feeling good about it.
He'll be just fine.
He'll be just fine. Exactly. Did you watch the Cole Hamels retirement ceremony? I thought they did a great job with it on Friday night. It was really cool. Cole gave a great speech. Chooch got a great ovation. Charlie got a great ovation. It was. They did a really nice job, but the Phillies usually do nice jobs at those things.
I've seen a lot of ceremonies like that over the years from different organizations, and I can't imagine that there's any organization that does it as well or better than how the Phillies do it. I mean, it's really spectacular, the fact that they brought back so many people. They spared no expense. I think that John Middleton and many, many others in the front office are trying to make sure that the history of this franchise, especially the people who've had great success here, that they are honored and revered and remembered well. It was great to see this happen. Unfortunately, I wasn't there live, but I watched a lot of the ceremony and seen a lot of the stuff on it. And listen, all those guys, they deserve the love. They deserve it because he did something that was so extraordinary in those 2 playoff series that has never been matched by a Philly player. I mean, I'm sorry, it just hasn't ever happened. And for him to almost, not single-handedly, but for him to do what he did to bring a World Series championship to Philadelphia. I mean, you gotta spread the love to him, man. There's no question about it, and he deserved a great speech too. And I think it was cool that he honored and talked about a lot of the people that affected him along the way.
Totally. And I thought just the fact that he said now it's their turn, pointing into the Phillies dugout, it was a really cool moment. You know, fans got fired up, and Matt Gelb talked about a story he wrote early. He wrote something in The Athletic talking about maybe Cole getting involved with the Phillies organization. And, you know, I talked with Chooch in London. He was supposed to be in spring training this year. It kind of had to pull out at the last minute. It would be nice to see more of those 08 guys get more involved and see them around a little bit more, because they could provide real value. You know, telling me Chooch can't help a young catcher in the minor league side during spring training, or, you know, even just work with the major league guys, and Cole Hamels working with the pitchers on the, you know, the mental side of the game, and just, you know, whatever. I mean, just talking to guys. It would be really cool to see more of those guys at the ballpark in spring training as special instructors, and maybe just throughout the year in some, you know, whatever capacity they could possibly help out in.
Yeah, to me, it's a no-brainer, and I do know that John Middleton really believes in that, and how important that is. There are a lot of people in baseball in this day and age who don't. They want to like separate themselves. Oh, we're our own organization now. We're a totally different organization now. Well, guess what? There's some history, and there's a reason why these guys had success, and they can provide a little bit of a knowledge and advice, and just being around. You know, just being around those other players, they can learn a lot of things. I think the special instructors in spring training is a phenomenal way to get these guys more and more involved. It just, I had the feeling when we did the podcast with Cole, and having talked with him a little bit off camera, that I think he really feels like he wants to get back and a little bit more involved. Now, all these guys have young kids; they're raising their children. They got stuff to do, but I do think that it seems like the Victorinos, and hopefully the Utleys at one point, and the Hamelses of the world, and even Jimmy Rollins a little bit, and those kind of guys, just to have them around and to be a part of it. I think that there's nothing but positivity that can happen with that.
Yeah, no doubt. It'd be cool to see those guys in spring training. Fans would love it as well.
Yep.
Seeing those guys, you know. It was cool. It was cool on Friday night. Well, Ruben, we'll be back later this week. I think Jim will be off his assignment. Maybe he'll be back.
Well, let's see if the thumb comes back.
We need that thumb back. All right. Talk to you, Ruben. Hey, I guess I have to drop a smell you later.
Right.
Smell you later, Ruben.
Smell you, Todd.
All right. This is The Phillies Show. If you haven't already, please subscribe to The Phillies Show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. If you like what we do, give us a review. Tell a friend. Catch Ruben, Jim, and me on Phillies Nation TV, presented by Valley Forge Tourism. New episodes air an hour before every Saturday Phillies game on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Replays air throughout the week and on PhilliesNation.com. Get more of Ruben's analysis during, before, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Read Jim at the All City Network at allphly.com. Find more of me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and occasionally on MLB Network.